Good evening, Star Wars nerds. Welcome to another episode of the Sci-Fi Movie Guide. My name is Mike, as you know, and I've got my friend Mike here as well.
Hello, how's it going?
And we just saw The Last Jedi. It's Thursday night. It's about 10 o'clock. We went to the 7 o'clock show, and it was an incredible movie. This is going to be non-spoilers for the first 4 minutes. I will warn you when we're about to put up the spoiler alert, so you can shut the video off if you haven't seen the movie. Don't worry, we're not going to spoil anything in this first part. But I had to say, this was an incredible movie.
Yeah, it's speechless. It's going to be hard to talk about for 4 minutes without any spoilers.
Yeah, I didn't know what to expect in this movie going into it. I thought, okay, I thought The Force Awakens was a little bit of a mirror to Star Wars: A New Hope. And I thought, okay, well, you know what? There has to be some rhyming. George Lucas always said there was rhyming in this movie. So I didn't know what to expect. And I'm not going to tell you whether or not it went like The Empire Strikes Back did until the spoilers. But what I can tell you is I didn't see most of this movie coming. I had a lot of my own predictions of what would happen, how it would happen, and I don't know if you agree with me, Mike, but as I was seeing this movie unfolding, I thought, oh, my prediction's going to come true. They're leading you one way, and then boom! It just goes sideways, and you're like, oh, wow, I did not see that coming.
I know even in your things you must watch and catch up on before you go see this, you did a lot of research. I didn't do any research, but not predictable at all. You're watching this film and you're like, oh, I got this figured out. And then,
yeah.
But it's not like these weird unnecessary twists. It's like twists that make sense, and that's the important part.
And I think that's what we want from our Star Wars movies. We want them to make sense. We want them to be in that universe. We want them to be the vision that George Lucas started, and I think they achieved this in spades.
Definitely.
We're just going to quickly talk about some of the performances. I'd like to start with Princess Leia, Carrie Fisher, because she passed away, but I think she did an amazing job in this movie. I think her performance was right on par. She didn't miss a beat.
I don't know how they did it. I can't tell where they filled in and whatnot. And they had many. There's one part near the end of the film where it's kind of an amazing cinematography, like tribute that they've done to her with conversation, talking to her. But you can tell it's almost like this little tribute to her.
Yeah, they really handled it very classy. It was a very classy way because we know that, she's not going to be acting in Episode 9. But yeah, it was a perfect way, I think.
She even has a line, it's like, you're never truly gone, and that's part of when you watch the movie, you'll see that little sequence. And it's, again, hard to talk about with any spoilers, but yeah, they did an amazing job with Carrie.
So Mark Hamill, I think this is his best performance as Luke Skywalker ever.
I agree.
I don't know how he reached in. It must be Rian Johnson's directing, because I think Rian Johnson pulled a performance out of him that I didn't know he was capable of. Because he was great in the first 3 movies, but he was no great actor. He just had a great story, and he had great lines, and he had great special effects. So he had a great performance in the first 3 movies. But this movie, the way that Mark Hamill dug deep to get some of these lines out, it was off the charts.
Yeah, he wasn't this awkward 20-something-year-old guy. He's definitely developed, and there was a lot of depth to his acting, and yeah, I didn't find him awkward at all in this.
Then we get into the new characters. We've got Rey, who, to me, stole this movie. I don't know if you agree with me, and it's great if you don't, but I think Rey, Daisy Ridley, stole this movie from a perspective of being the lead. I really felt like she was the lead character in this movie. Well, and Adam Driver, Kylo Ren. I think they were co-leads in this movie. And I was really happy to see that they were bringing up these new actors to be the leads in this movie rather than rely so heavily on the old characters like Luke and Leia.
Yeah. All the characters were very well rounded. There wasn't really that awkward character just placed in it.
Yeah, there was no Jar Jar.
Yeah. Hey, spoiler alert.
Yeah, well, if you guys thought Jar Jar was in this, then you're crazy. Even the Porgs worked for me. I mean, I thought when I first saw these Porgs in the trailers, I was like, oh, this is going to be really bad. Nope, Porgs worked.
Yeah, I liked them. They were good.
So really, that's all we're going to say is this movie is definitely worth going to see. As you can see, I've got up here the way that I score a movie. It's either must see, that means you have to see this opening weekend. You do not want anything spoiled. Then we've got go, which means, it doesn't have to be opening weekend. You can just go to this movie, but you got to see it in the theater because it's theater worthy. Then we got wait for video, where don't spend your hard-earned money, just wait. It'll come out on Netflix or you can buy the DVD. And then we've got no, which is don't waste your money on this movie. I think you can already tell, folks, I'm going, this is a must-see for me. Absolutely must see. If I turned off the internet for 4 days so that I wouldn't get spoiled after the press release, and I'm so happy I did because I didn't get spoiled on anything. So I'm calling this a must see. Mike, how do you want to score this movie?
I'm right up there as a must-see, and my biggest surprise is I am the most anti-3D movie guy in the world. I can't stand the forced 3D in most movies.
Like, woo!
It's so, oh, look, my hand is pointing at you for no reason at all. Or it's so out of focus and they're forcing you to look at certain things, and if you look anywhere else, you're kind of getting that motion sickness. But this was the most well-done 3D movie I've ever seen, and I would almost say it's a must-see in 3D.
Yeah, I agree 100% with you, because I'm not a huge fan of 3D either.
No, I would rather have like the worst seat in the world with no 3D opposed to like having a comfortable seat with 3D.
That's a great point. So guys, that's all we're doing for non-spoilers. So I'm telling you right now, please shut off this video if you have not seen the movie. Do not go any further. Mike, tell them.
Yeah, don't go any further.
Seriously, because we're about to spoil the shit out of this movie. So last warning, we're done with non-spoilers. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you'll come back and watch the rest of this video after you've seen the movie. So spoiler alert goes up. And Mike, what do you want to spoil? What do you want to start with?
Holy Jar Jar. Like...
I've got some notes
I don't even, with the spoiler, well, I guess we can start from the beginning because I just want to jump to a whole bunch of those. Like, of course, the deaths, whatever, but to start from the beginning, the General...
So the opening humor with General Hux.
Yeah, it came across as a little forced. He was such this, like... Hitler-esque character in the previous, and in this one,
the biggest bad evil guy in the universe.
He almost became like the principal from Ferris Bueller's Day Off. He was like this awkward, like, what?
He was a joke.
Yeah, he had no anger, no meanness to him. He couldn't stand up to anybody.
It really starts, and I'm going to get into this a little deeper because you'll get what I mean by this. So Poe Dameron is flying towards this giant ship all by himself, and everybody's like, oh God, Poe, what's Poe doing? And so he goes, I have a message for General Hux. I'm trying to get a hold of General Hux, and he opened a channel, and so Hux is there, and he goes, oh, yes, put him through. And he goes, this is General Hux, the evil lord of blah, 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 and goes on a tirade about how evil he is. And then Poe's like,
I'm holding for the General?
I'm holding for the General? Is anybody there? What?
Hello?
It was seriously that campy.
Yeah, it was... They were trying to be like Guardians of the Galaxy, but doing a poor job at it.
And it scared the crap out of me because I thought, oh my God, if we get 2.5 hours of this kind of humor thrown in a Star Wars movie, it's going to be awful. And thank God it was only the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
After that, I thought through the rest of the movie, they toned it down. The humor worked going forward. What do you think? Yeah,
it almost seemed like out of place for the Star Wars franchise at the start. Like, this is not the kind of humor that they have, and, well, we don't want to speak of the Jar Jars and all that, and but but I wonder. I don't know if they put that in there on purpose, just to like almost scare people. But they really cleaned up their act, and they had proper humor, good humor throughout the rest of the film.
Yeah, and I think it ended when Snoke's hologram came in and was so mad at General Hux for screwing up.
Yeah.
Because Poe did get through, and Poe got rid of all the towers on the big giant Star Destroyer. And then this is where we saw the first glimmer of how powerful Snoke is, because he's a hologram on the ship, and Hux is talking to him, and he just pushes him into the wall, and he's not even there.
Yeah, his ship isn't even in the area either.
No, it's not. It hasn't even shown up yet.
Yeah.
He's on the other side of the galaxy, and he's reaching through the stars, and he force pushes him. It was crazy, and that kind of, I think, woke up the character in the movie, so that, okay, I'm not going to be this campy villain anymore.
Yeah.
And I don't know what Donald Gleason, he just didn't look healthy. Like, did he look like the same guy in The Force Awakens? He looked paler. He had weird, longer hair. He looked like he had just come off of surfing.
Yeah, it looks like he's like Snook's son.
But anyway, you'll see what we mean when we start. But then it gets into this incredible battle scene, like space battle right off the start.
It's like a World War II recreation in Star Wars.
The bomber. You got to talk about that bomber.
Yeah, the bombers, like they're doing this bomber run, and it's right out of your history books, like formations, everything. The tail gunners on these bombers. It's just a beautiful sequence and everything too.
Visually incredible. And Rose, who you guys have seen in the trailers and stuff, it's her sister on the bomber.
Yeah.
And her sister, you'll find out later because there's two pendants and they each have half of the pendant. But she's the one, and they've destroyed all the bombers except this last one going in. And she falls down a chute, and she has to try to get the remote control, and everybody's just about to blow her up, and she finally gets it and drops all these bombs and then dies.
The interesting part, though, is it's so out of reach, and there's this moment where you see her trying to use the Force as well, and
that's what I thought.
Reaching for it, and because she's like holding the pendant and reaching out for it as well, and then it works.
And it works, and it falls. I don't know if she was using the Force, but it was the hope of using the Force.
It's like that unspoken, like, did the Force help?
Yeah. Yeah, it was a great scene. Great opening battle, which set the stage for this movie. And I'd really like to get into the fact that I said to Mike right after the movie, I felt like I just got 2 Star Wars movies in one.
Yeah.
There was 2 points in this movie where I thought, oh, that's it, it's over. And then we got another movie.
Yeah. Well, I remember our conversation before when we were looking at the runtime of the movie, and we're like, why do they do this? Why do they have to drag it out for
2 hours and 32 minutes?
Yeah, we're like, there's always all this unnecessary garbage that they put in there, but in this one, no.
I couldn't think of one scene to cut.
No, there's no slow parts. Everything was necessary.
Yeah. And then we get into... they start splitting off, and this is the thing that I loved the most about Return of the Jedi, was there was 3 different storylines happening at the same time. You've got Finn and Rose who go to Canto Bight, and they're going to the planet where they have to find a code breaker to come back so they can get past the shield. Then you've got Poe and Leia, who are trying to lead the Resistance and save them because the Star Destroyers are chasing them. And they're just staying out of reach. And then you've got the Luke and Rey story. And the way that they seamlessly cut back and forth and back and forth.
There was also, though, the connections between Rey and Ben. Because they were also connected. So there's like a lot of overlapping little...
Ben?
Or Solo, sorry.
Oh, yeah, Kylo. Ben Solo. Kylo Ren. Yeah, because... Let's start with the Rey and Luke and the overlapping with Kylo. Let's go to that storyline first.
Okay.
So, as Mike said, so Rey, it picks up right where you left off with Rey handing the lightsaber to Luke, and Luke was looking all ferocious. And he throws the lightsaber over the cliff and walks away.
Yeah.
It was like, wow.
He's like, I want nothing to do with this, and just walks away.
And it was so I thought it was going to be who are you, and it was going to be a beautiful moment, and it wasn't. Luke was like, I don't care, I'm out. And Rey actually had to follow him and go to his hut and knock on the door, and he's like, "Go away." Great thing to see Luke. He's just devastated. He's done with the Force.
Yeah.
Rey even talks to him about it and says that you've closed yourself off to the Force. When I was feeling the Force, I felt the light, I felt the dark, I felt the death, I felt the cold, I felt the warmth, but I couldn't feel you. You've closed yourself off to the Force. What did you think about that choice as a movie for them to do that with Luke?
You can totally see the struggle, because it's like, why else would he be kind of in hiding for so long, not helping, not fighting this battle that he's been fighting for his whole life? And I think he feels like this disconnect from the Force. He feels a lot of responsibility for
Kylo Ren.
For Kylo. So he closes himself off. He's almost given up, and I think he closes himself off because he doesn't want to see. He doesn't want to make that same mistake again.
Yeah.
And even at that point, because he senses, there's a point where he goes up to Ren and says, "I felt the same power in you." And then they get into this whole balance, equality, who your opposites are. She was the light, he's the dark, but they had like very similar powers. But at that point too, like, you don't realize until later that Snoke is kind of messing with
That's where we get, it's really cool because, and what Mike's talking about is during all this Luke and Rey stuff, Kylo and Rey are connecting every once in a while and talking through the Force. So Kylo's way away on a ship and she's there with Luke, but they keep connecting, and Kylo says, "Why do we keep connecting? I don't understand this connection." He even asks her, and she goes, "I have no idea." And yet, the way that they seamlessly did that through the storyline really started to lend you to the fact that, okay, maybe these two are going to team up. Maybe this is good. And I think that's what they wanted to do, was foreshadow a team up.
Yeah.
But I think when they picked the choice of making Luke, because I thought Luke went away to study the Jedi and to study the Journal of the Wills and come back even more powerful. I thought he wanted to find out what he did wrong with Ben so that he could come back and do it better. And no, he went out to this island to die. Yeah. He said it. I went there to die.
He gave up, and it's pretty much a Jedi temple, and it's run by these caretakers.
Yep.
These nun-looking kind of things, and it kind of has like this symbolism just to him giving up and wanting to finish off his days there.
And sprinkled throughout this storyline, there's humor. Like Rey shoots a wall and these caretakers are pissed off because they have to clean it up. Or Rey cuts off this beautiful part of the mountain and it falls and takes out their cart, and they look up at her and they're like, "Seriously, are you here to wreck our temple?"
Yeah, this fortress of solitude.
And she's just wiping it, like destroying it. It was really funny, and those are the pieces of humor that I felt worked.
Yeah, but even that, their whole time together, Luke is not really working with her as much. He's pushing her away, and
well, he even says, finally he gives up and he says, "I'll teach you 3 lessons tomorrow, and that's why I'll show you why the Jedi must end."
Yeah.
And through those 3 lessons, I think he was teaching or learning more than he was teaching.
Yeah.
Because he was seeing, he saw how powerful Rey was, and he was scared because he said, I've seen that power before in Ben, and I wasn't scared then, but I am now. Which we find out later because she teaches him and says, because he goes, "I failed Ben," and she goes, "You didn't fail Ben, he failed you, and I won't."
Yeah.
And that was the catalyst where, okay, Luke's back. Luke's going to train her.
Well, do you want to talk about Luke's special visitor on the island?
Yeah, go for it.
Well, at the point when she takes off, she leaves to go kind of finish a battle, kind of gives up. He's ready to go and burn
down the Force tree, burn down the journals.
All the journals.
Destroy
and all
it all and say the Jedi's over.
Yeah, but then he's like about to do it, and he has he second guesses himself, and he's about to walk away, and then a Force ghost appears, and it's Yoda. Mm-hmm. And they did an awesome job with it too.
Yoda was the Empire Strikes Back Yoda.
Yeah.
He was funny. He was making jokes. He was like, "Oh, you don't know."
So yeah, Luke's gonna pull it away, so Yoda burns it down.
Yoda makes lightning strike it and burns it all down for him and goes,
It's just books.
just books. Oh, were they interesting books? Did you read them? He goes, well, yeah, real page turners. Like Yoda's saying, real page turners.
Yeah, and kind of Yoda pushes him back on track to go and help and be like, well, look what happened when you pushed somebody away and they went to the dark side. Now you're pushing somebody just as powerful away. They're going to go to the dark side.
And I loved the line that he said, and I won't get it right because I've only seen the movie once, but he said, you learn as much from your failures as you do your successes. Learn from your last failure and do it right this time. And that was incredible. Yoda wasn't in the movie for long, but he made a giant impact, in my opinion.
Yeah, and he just made me feel good about myself.
Yeah, he did. So then we're going to go into the storyline, and we're not going to spend a lot of time on this because it doesn't really need it. But when they went to Canto Bight, Finn and Rose, they went to Canto Bight, and basically all they were doing was going there to get a code breaker so they could go back and break the code to get through the shield so they could destroy one of the big giant Death Stars. Or not Death Stars, Star Destroyers. But the thing I found really cool about this is the first time we actually saw rich people in a Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
They weren't desert rats. They weren't dirty. These people,
No mercenaries, nothing.
No, these people were like cream of the crop in a casino. They had horse racing. They were betting on it. It was really out of place in a Star Wars movie, and yet it was what we've always wanted to see.
Yeah, normal life in a Star Wars movie where there's no conflict going on in that city, in that society. It's almost like the North America of the world,
Yeah.
Where there's fighting everywhere else, and they're like, "Oh, that's okay. It doesn't affect us." You go in there, and it's these rich upper class people just having like a good life.
And we find out why. It finally gets revealed to us. These are the arms dealers. And they've been dealing all the arms to the First Order. But then we find out, and this is where we get Benicio del Toro's character, DJ. He shows up in this part, and he's the codebreaker. But he shows them, you know what? These people are also dealing arms to the Resistance as well. They don't care who they're selling to. They're selling to both sides, and that's how they're paying for this.
Yeah, and good and evil is just a term. Like
they don't care,
yeah.
As long as they're profiting. And I mean, it was really a great, like you said, North America. It's like what's happening in North America right now, where we don't know what's going on. And I don't want to get into politics, but it was a really good little homage to that. So then we get into, I think my most interesting part of this movie was the Leia Poe Dameron storyline. There was so many twists and turns to it, where we had Poe Dameron is this, hotshot pilot, doesn't listen to anybody, disobeys orders. I go out and kill things. I make sure I do what I think is right. I don't follow your orders. And it really bit him in the ass there.
Yeah, a couple times where he felt out of the loop, that they're not communicating with it. But
so he thought, well, you don't have a plan if you're not telling me about it.
Exactly. It's like, but not everyone has to know everything. In fact, sometimes things don't work out if everyone knows anything. And he almost ends up
destroying the whole plan.
Yeah, and he pretty much did wreck a lot of it.
And once he found out what the plan was, he's like, oh, that could work. And Leia was like, yeah, it could.
Well, I don't know if you want to explain why he was all angry and wanting to take off because of Leia.
Right. Sorry, I did. I skipped over that.
We totally forgot that part.
So Leia is in a hangar bay, and they go in and destroy Leia's ship, and we see her get blown out an airlock. And this is probably, about 40 minutes into the movie?
Not even. It's right at that first beginning battle scene.
So 25, 30 minutes in.
Yeah.
And she gets blown out this airlock, and I'm like, maybe they decided that's how they're going to end Carrie Fisher in this movie. Maybe they're just going to let her go out in a blaze of glory. And I really thought that's what it was.
Yeah, and I had some closure there.
I did. I had closure too. And then all of a sudden they're doing a couple other things, and we see Leia in space, and she's just sitting there using the Force. And then we see her open her eyes, and she floats back in towards the ship. Like, wow, it was powerful. It was a very powerful moment for me. I don't know about you, but...
No, it was kind of caught me off guard because again I was like, she's done. Oh, that's how they closed off her character, wrapped things up, and then I'm like, how are they going to continue on with her? And she continued on for the entire movie.
She does not die in this movie. Leia does not die. Leia is not dead at the end of this movie, so it just leaves more questions than answers on how they're going to continue the Leia story in Episode 9 without Carrie Fisher to play her.
Yeah.
We'll get to that at the end. We're going to do a little bit of speculation. But then we get into the part where finally Rey gets in out of the Millennium Falcon, and she goes to basically meet Kylo and turn him back to the light side. Because he, in all those times that they were connecting, she said she felt the light in him.
Yeah.
And she even told Luke, I can turn him back, and you have to help me. And he's like, I'm not helping you. Do what you got to do. And then we find out the real power of Supreme Leader Snoke. He was puppeteering this whole thing. He went into Ben's head and made Ben doubt himself so that Rey could see it. He forged this connection between the two of them so that they would have that moment.
Put the doubt in his mind.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. And yeah, when she goes and he captures her and presents him to Snoke, and Snoke's going to kill her. And that's when it gets to the biggest twist, because Snoke commands Kylo to kill him.
To kill her with the lightsaber.
And he's like sitting there, and Snoke's going off on his classic villain tirade of blah, blah, blah.
I will be the powerful...
I can read his mind. I know everything that's going on in his head. But meanwhile, the lightsaber next to him just starts kind of wiggling.
This is Rey and Luke's lightsaber.
Yeah, it's next to Snoke, and then all of a sudden it slowly starts to turn sideways, and then you see Kylo's hand give that little twist, and the lightsaber turns on and just shoots through Snoke and
right through his waist.
Yeah, cuts him completely in half and kills him right there.
And I don't know about you, I did not see this coming.
I wasn't expecting that at all.
and then, just to add insult to injury, then Kylo Ren rips the lightsaber through his body to catch it. And they see the top half of him just go blah.
And he's dead.
And then they turn around to each other and they're working together. Yeah. Kylo and Rey. She turned him. She turned him back to the light.
And you have this like, oh my god, this is a great partnership. He's fighting on good, and they're gonna this is gonna make for an amazing series.
And then the Red Guards come in, because the guards that were guarding Snoke, and they fight together. This one of the best lightsaber battles I've seen in Star Wars.
She saved him. He was getting choked out. He's about to die. She throws a lightsaber. He catches it, turns it on, goes right through the guy's
head.
Yeah, it was an amazing fight sequence.
And they turn around and they look at each other, and we're like, "Oh my god, this is great! They're gonna team up."
But then he sees the throne, and he immediately, you can see like the change in him, and he knows now he's in charge.
And she says to him, "Okay, Kylo, let's go. We got to go help the Resistance." And he goes, "No, let them die." He says, let them die, let Luke die, let everything die,
everyone.
Let the Sith die. We're going to start new. We can rule the galaxy together. And you're like, and then you see Rey looking at him. I'm like, oh shit, she's going dark.
Yeah.
Did you not think that?
Yeah, because she was you can see her contemplating, because in the background you can see the transport ships that are trying to make it to the planet. The Resistance, what's left of them, they're all getting just destroyed. There's not too many ships left, and you can see it's almost ending, and she's like, you can see her really contemplating.
And that's where Daisy Ridley acting.
Yeah.
Like, she had me believing she was going to the dark and they were going to rule the galaxy. Yeah. And then...
I would have been fine with it.
I would have been too. Yeah. It would have been a great twist. Would have made a great episode 9. Yeah. And then she, at the last second, no, not going to happen. And then, so they're both fighting over Luke's lightsaber. And it's a force battle of mind, and the energy between these two actors, it was so amazing. And you're like, who's going to get the lightsaber? Who's going to get the lightsaber? And it rips in half. Luke's lightsaber rips in half.
Yeah.
How did you put it? Like they're equals?
Yeah, because when Luke was training her, or kind of going through things, and she discovers the Force, and she's talking about the opposites on everything, the good and evil, and the balance, and the whole Force doesn't belong to anyone, it's in everyone. And for Jedis to think that the the Force belongs to them,
it was
wrong.
ridiculous.
But it's all about balance, and everyone has their equal. And even Snoke says it, like, he thought that Kylo's equal was Luke.
Yeah.
But it wasn't. It turned out to be Rey, and that's the equal, where you can kind of see later on where Snoke and Luke are the equals, and you see Luke's real powers.
Oh my God. I can't wait to get to that.
I know.
Like,
but how she gets out of that, like in their little epic battle, what's her name?
Rey?
No, oh my God.
Rose? Who are we talking
Leia's
about?
replacement.
Poe Dameron? Oh, Laura Dern's character.
Yes, I can't remember her name.
I don't remember her character's name, but Laura Dern's character, okay.
Yeah, she becomes the Admiral, and in order to save all the transport ships trying to flee down to the base, she turns the ship around, because of course they're running out of fuel. The whole time they're being pursued, and their ships are just, the Rebellion ships are getting picked off one by one as they're running out of fuel. The last ship, she turns it around. She's the only one on it. She hits light speed and goes right into the
whole fleet
and destroys most of it, all of it, pretty much.
And knocks out Kylo Ren, knocks out Rey, or so we think.
Yeah.
And then Rey escapes in an escape pod. And when Hux comes in and sees Snoke cut in half, and then Kylo, he pulls out his gun, like he reaches for his gun to finish off Kylo, but then Kylo wakes up, because you could see right there Snoke wanted to take over, and he had to put the final bullet in Kylo's head.
Yeah.
But Kylo wakes up and looks at him, and he puts the gun away before Kylo sees the gun. And then he's like, the Supreme Leader is dead. What do you mean you think you're leading? I am the leader of this army. And before he can get that out, Kylo force chokes him and says, what? And Snoke goes, long live the Supreme Leader.
Yeah, so you get a new Supreme Leader at that time.
Kylo Ren, new Supreme Leader.
Yeah. We also forgot to talk about the double cross as well with the DJ's character.
Oh, yeah, that's right. So DJ's helping him. He becomes a codebreaker. Not really too important to the plot.
No.
But he does a double flip, which sends it into the Finn Phasma battle.
Yeah.
Which we're going to talk about for a second. But Finn and Phasma get into one of the most epic battles, and Phasma dies.
Yeah.
Did not see this coming. Finn wins. She falls into this fire pit and dies. So I'm really happy because I didn't really care a lot about this Phasma character. JJ didn't.
Good character.
No, JJ didn't make me like her in The Force Awakens, and Brian didn't do anything really to endear to us.
Like you're just a shiny stormtrooper. I don't really care about you.
We thought you were going to be the Boba Fett, and you didn't turn out to be the Boba Fett. So then we get into the final part of this movie, or so I thought.
Yeah.
But it wasn't the final part of the movie, where now Kylo Ren is like, okay, we can go to that planet and we're going to finish them off. And I thought, okay, that's it. You know what? And they can end it right here, and the third movie will be all about the final battle of the Resistance. And it wasn't.
Yeah.
Who shows up in the caves with the Resistance guys?
Yeah, little Mr. Skywalker just walks out, and you see like everyone in the rebellion perk up, and they're like, hey, he's here.
And he starts talking to Leia, and he puts his hand on her, which this is important later, because he even puts his hand on Leia, and they're holding hands. But she knew she was the Force, and so she probably knew he wasn't there, but everybody else thought he was there.
Yeah, so he walks out. Just walks out. They open the big blast doors because they have like a mini Death Star battering ram thing that's going to blow this door up. You have your cruisers,
walkers everywhere, TIE fighters.
Your Land Cruiser, the Rebellion, they're flying their Land Cruisers there. You have, I guess, you think that they're going to go and crash into it.
Well, Finn is the last guy. Poe's finally got his head together and says, okay, maybe we shouldn't always just try to blow things up. Let's fight to live another day. And Finn's going to be the hero and flies right into it. And Rose comes in at the last second and saves him. We thought Finn was going to have a heroic death. It would have been beautiful.
Yeah, he's all in tears, and he's just about it. And he's doing that classic eyes closed, and things are getting bright. And then, he doesn't die.
Rose comes out of nowhere, knocks him out of the way.
I love watching your hand, and there's another guy next to us, and both your hands are up, like...
Yeah. It's
3D
true.
glasses on, hiding the tears.
Yeah, I thought he was done.
Yeah.
And then Luke walks out.
Yeah, Luke walks out.
A
And
whole giant army, and one guy walks out. He goes, "Hey, what's up?" Didn't say it like that, but it's
pretty much, but you see Kylo, he's furious, he's livid, he wants every gun, and he commands every gun to fire on Luke.
And when we're talking every gun, we're talking there was about 20 AT-ATs. There was another 30 ships. Like, it was
Ground
a
troops.
lot of guns.
And it's just nonstop barrage of firepower going at this spot.
And he goes, keep firing, keep firing. And Hux finally says, enough, stop, you've killed him, it's over.
Do you think you got him?
Yeah, that he does say that, doesn't he?
Yeah. And the smoke clears, and then Luke walks out, and he just looks, and then he brushes his shoulder off.
Looks at Kylo and like, really? That's what you got? It was so cool.
Yeah. So then they enter into into a battle.
Kylo Ren says, take me down there. I'm going to finish him off.
Yeah.
And it was epic the way Luke was just avoiding him. Luke does one of these back matrix things when he comes across. And Luke does the classic, which I love, which tied it in. Like, you can strike me down, but it won't matter. I'll become more powerful, like the Obi-Wan Darth Vader thing. And then Kylo goes in, strikes him down.
Goes to cut him in half, turns around, sees that Luke's still standing.
I didn't know what was going on. I was like, oh, did Luke die a long time ago and he's been a Force ghost?
That's what I thought too. I'm like,
time?
he's a Force ghost.
And no, he wasn't. He was way still back on Act 2. He never left the island.
Yeah, he was just transposing his body there. Like, it was just like a projection of him. And
how powerful is that, being in the Force?
Well, obviously powerful enough for him to die.
Yeah. He spent so much energy doing this as a distraction so the Resistance could get away, and Rey helps the Resistance get out by lifting these giant boulders off of the entrance. And then he looks at Kylo and he says, I think the last thing that he says to Kylo before he leaves is, I am not the last Jedi. And then his Force ghost disappears. Kylo is screaming angry because he's like, what the hell's going on? And then they cut back to Ahch-To on the island, and Luke he falls, and then he connects with Leia for just a second, and Rey, and they felt him, and then we see just disappear, and the robe floats away.
Yeah, he becomes
a Force ghost. He dies but it was such a great death.
Yeah.
Saving the Resistance, going away peacefully, and Leia even says that. Or no, Rey says it. I felt peace in him.
Yeah.
It wasn't a bad death. And I thought, what a great way to send Luke Skywalker out of this movie. Although we know he'll be a Force ghost in Episode 9. He's coming back.
He's just going to be glowy.
Yeah, like Yoda and like Anakin and like Hayden Christensen. Which I don't even want to get into. The movies that will not be named. And I think that's pretty much it for the movie. I mean, we pretty much spoiled the shit out of this movie for you. You really don't need to go see it now because we just gave you the whole movie.
We did forget to talk about the score.
Oh my God, John Williams is a god.
It was an amazing score.
From beginning to end. You know how you know when it's a good score? Is you don't notice it that often.
It's not offensive.
It brings you, it gives you chills on the arm, makes the hair stand up, it makes your heart race a little more, and there was so many cool things about the score that brought back some of the prequels music, Leia's theme, Darth Vader's theme, Luke's theme, and a lot of great new music.
Yeah, there's nothing annoying. I was a little worried when they get to the casino. You think it's going to be like cheesy cantina music, where you can't recreate that. You've done that once.
Yeah.
They did a good job on that, but even in the last one, it was a little weak.
It was they're trying stuff.
They're trying to be too much like the Canteen song, but this one it was like classy. It was good.
It was. John Williams really
still had a little steel drum in it, but it was good.
Little hint of JJ in there.
Exactly. But it was great, and also you don't have to stay for the credits.
Yeah, we stayed for the credits.
Stayed till the end.
So I think we're going to end this talking about the jackass that was sitting next to me and movie theater etiquette. Seriously, people. Licorice. There are, you're in a Star Wars movie, there's going to be battle scenes, there's going to be huge TIE fighter explosions, and you can tell when they're happening. It's really loud, then you open your licorice.
Yeah. Lesson 1, open crinkly food during explosions and fights.
Don't wait until the movie theater's absolutely dead silent from Luke dying, and then decide, I'm going to open this licorice. Mike, what did you say about licorice makers?
Why can't you invent a bag of licorice that isn't all crinkly? Like, put it in a Lay's potato tube or something and be like, hey, look, I'm in a movie theater and I'm silent because I don't want to hear you and I don't understand, was it all the licorice so impossible to get out and you just had to crinkle this thing for it seemed like 2 hours and 32 minutes?
Or crack jokes every time something happens. They tell a great joke in the movie and he thinks he's got a better joke that he's going to tell his girlfriend.
Yeah. So, movie etiquette. We're not paying to listen to you talk.
That's why popcorn bags have an open top.
Yeah.
Popcorn is safe. Doesn't make a lot of noise.
Well, he was still kind of offensive. He was like, I don't know what. He kept shaking it.
Shaking it. I gotta get in there.
That's why you ask for layered butter.
Yeah, layer it.
That's the next rule.
So anyway, there's our rant. Again, The Last Jedi.
Must see.
2 movies. It was 2 movies to me. I got everything I wanted, and then I got another movie. I love this movie. I am not sure where it lands for me quite yet, because I've only seen it once in the history of Star Wars. Like right now, my favorite Star Wars movie is Return of the Jedi, followed very closely by Empire Strikes Back. I don't know what you think.
Those are my
your 2 as well?
That's what I've introduced my son as well, in those orders, so...
And sometime next week I'll do another video and I'll rate all the movies, but I'm going to see it Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. By the end of this weekend, I'm gonna have seen this movie 4 times, and then I'll know more where it fits in. So I'm not gonna even go there, but I'd love to hear in the comments section below, what you think of this movie. Is it a must-see? Did you love it? Did you hate it? That's the best part about Star Wars, is we can talk about it and we can have fun with it. Mike was joking today. He goes, I'm going to be the least fanboy of a Star Wars character you've ever had on your show.
Yeah, I'm just your casual Star Wars fan. I don't watch any of the
cartoons.
I don't read the
comics.
Books. I just watch the movie and enjoy them, and I don't really think too much about the Star Wars galaxy.
Yeah, and so guys, he did a pretty good job on his first show too. Tell us in the comment section. Yeah. So, folks, again, if you want to get a hold of me, you can email me, movieguySci-fi@gmail.com. You can follow me on Twitter, at movieguySci-fi, same on Facebook. And Mike, thanks for coming on the show today.
Thanks for having me, Mike.
And remember, everybody, nerds rule the world.